A stroll through the portal gardens. Zyra Velari only wanted a peaceful afternoon. That was all. Just one quiet walk through the shimmering portal gardens of her homeworld, an oasis woven from star-blue trees, crystal-petaled flowers, and gentle warp rifts that hummed like ancient lullabies. She held her twin babies close, their small lavender bodies wrapped in soft silver cloths. They were barely 4 months old, their skin glowing faintly in the sunlight of Aloria Prime. Her daughters, Linari and Sela, cooed softly as they stared wide-eyed at drifting spheres of floating light. "It's your first trip outside the nesting chambers," Zyra whispered. "Only a short walk, little stars. Just the gardens, nothing more." The gardens were safe, controlled, watched by gatekeepers. Usually, Zyra was tired, still recovering from childbirth, still adjusting to life, raising 2 infants alone. Their father had returned to the stars for diplomatic duty, leaving her temporarily responsible for everything. She needed fresh air. She needed silence. She needed a moment where she didn't feel like the galaxy was pressing down on her shoulders. Her daughters giggled as she passed through a cluster of warp flowers. Their petals rippled with pocket dimensions, harmless little bubbles of distorted space only a few inches wide. Zyra bent down to let the twins touch the petals. But the garden had been behaving strangely all morning. The warp fields pulsed irregularly. The harmonic rings flickered. And a stray rift, unstable, unmonitored, opened silently at her back.
She didn't see it.
She only felt a sudden pull, a sickening drop in the air, like gravity turning upside down. She spun. Too late. The world warped. Light twisted. And Zyra Velari and her twin babies fell screaming into a tear between worlds. The crash landing. Cold. Blindingly cold. Wind slammed into Zyra's body as she hurtled downward from a tear in the gray sky of an unfamiliar planet. Her wings, normally hidden beneath her cloak, snapped open, desperate to slow her fall. Pain streaked through her muscles. She twisted midair, shielding her babies. They hit the ground hard. The impact sent her rolling across damp dirt and fallen leaves. Her babies cried sharply, but fortunately not harmed. Zyra groaned, forcing her eyes open. The sky was wrong. The air tasted wrong. The gravity was heavier, dragging her wings painfully against the earth. And everything around her, trees, grass, distant mountains, looked primitive, untouched, wild. A strange world. A dangerous world. "This cannot be Aloria," she whispered, panic rising. "Where am I?" She pulled her babies close, checking their small fingers, their breathing, their warmth. They were frightened, but safe. Thank the stars. She slowly stood, wings folding back painfully. The rift above snapped shut, a clean tear closing like the eyelid of a sleeping giant. "No, no," she cried. "Come back. Open. Please." But the sky stayed silent. Zyra swallowed hard. She was alone. Lost. Stranded. Her heart hammered in her chest. And then, rustling, something moved in the trees. Her instincts sharpened instantly. She backed against a fallen log, cradling her daughters, prepared to defend them with her last breath. The rustling stopped. Footsteps followed. Slow. Cautious. Familiar only in one terrifying way. They belonged to someone, not something. Zyra tensed. A figure stepped through the trees. Tall, broad-shouldered, wrapped in a dark jacket and worn boots. A human. A real, living, breathing human. Her breath hitched. She had heard of them in stories. Ancient visitors. Mythic wanderers of the stars. But her people hadn't seen a human in centuries. "What?" the man whispered, eyes widening. Are you real?" Zyra pressed back farther, clutching her twins. "Stay away." "Whoa, hey, okay. The man raised both hands gently. "I'm not gonna hurt you." His voice was calm.
Soft.
Zyra trembled. "What planet is this?" "Planet?" He blinked. Earth. Earth. She had fallen onto the primitive homeworld of the legendary humans. Zyra felt her knees weaken. The man stepped closer slowly. "You look hurt." Don't come closer, she warned, though her voice quivered. I won't, he said gently, and for some reason, she believed him. 3. A human named Mason Hale. My name is Mason, he said softly. I don't know what happened to you, but you and your babies look freezing. Zaira hesitated. Her twins whimpered. The wind grew colder. Mason removed his jacket, thick, warm, and stepped forward just enough to place it on the ground halfway between them. No threat, he said. Just take it if you need it. Zaira studied him. His hands were steady. His eyes were kind. And her babies were shivering. She moved forward cautiously, grabbed the jacket, and wrapped it around her daughters. Thank you, she whispered reluctantly. You speak English? He asked, stunned. My people speak many languages, she replied. I didn't mean to come here. That makes 2 of us, he muttered. Zaira clutched her babies. A rift pulled me in. I'm stranded. I have no portal, no guidance, no way home. She felt her voice break. Mason's expression softened. You're safe with me, okay? I'll help you. Why? She whispered. Because you need help. Humans were strange, illogical, and yet somehow trustworthy. Zaira exhaled shakily. I need shelter, warmth, a secure place for my daughters. Mason nodded. My cabin is nearby. Quiet, safe, no one else around. Zaira hesitated again and then stepped forward. Lead the way. For into the human world. The walk was slow. Zaira was still dizzy from the portal jump. Mason kept his distance, but remained close enough to guide her around rocks and tree roots. He kept glancing at her wings. You're incredible, he whispered once. She blushed faintly. My physiology is normal for my species. Normal or not, you're still incredible. Her cheeks heated again. In another situation, she might have been amused, but fear still clung to her bones. Soon they reached Mason's cabin, small, wooden, simple, but warm. Smoke curled from the chimney. He opened the door. After you. Zaira stepped inside. Her eyes widened. It was cozy. Calm. Safe. Mason shut the door gently and lit a lamp. The warm glow bathed the room in gold. Sit by the fire, he said. Let me help you get warm. She moved slowly to the fireplace, settling onto a soft rug. The babies relaxed immediately, their small bodies uncurling. Mason knelt a few feet away. May I look at them? Zaira hesitated, then allowed it. These little ones are adorable, he said, smiling softly. They are my life, she whispered. He nodded. Then we'll protect them. V. The Night of Fears. After feeding her twins, Zaira finally allowed herself to rest. Mason wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. You should sleep, he said. I cannot. Not in an unfamiliar world. I'll stay awake, he promised. Nothing will happen to your kids. She studied him for a long moment. Then her voice softened. Humans, you are not like the tales say. He smirked. Depends on the tale. Zaira actually smiled. A small, fragile smile. Later, as she dozed lightly, she woke to find Mason sitting on the floor by the door, holding a metal rod like a weapon. He had stayed awake, guarding her babies. She whispered, Mason, thank you. He didn't look back, but she saw his slight smile. 6. The morning after. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Zaira woke to the smell of warm food. Mason stood at the stove, cooking eggs and toasting bread. Her babies were asleep peacefully beside her. You made food, she whispered, surprised. You haven't eaten since falling through the sky, he said. She blinked. Do you do this for every alien you find? You're the first, he said, laughing softly. But you won't be the last if the universe keeps throwing surprises at me. Zaira accepted the food gratefully. It tastes different, she murmured. Different good. Different warm. She had never tasted anything quite like it. 7. Learning Earth. Over the next days, Zaira learned how human heaters worked, learned that Earth's gravity was exhausting, learned that human clothing was oddly comfortable, learned that Mason had lived alone for years. And Mason learned Zaira's people traveled through harmonic portals. Her wings weren't for long-distance flight. Her babies were extremely sensitive to temperature. Zyra was stronger than she looked, but scared beneath it. Every night, Mason stayed awake to keep watch. Every morning, Zyra thanked him, and a quiet bond began to form.
Not fast.
Not romantic. Just gentle. Natural.
Human.
Alien. Something in between. 8. The danger arrives. On the 6th night, everything changed. Zyra was feeding her twins when she felt the air ripple. Her blood froze. "A rift is opening," she whispered. Mason tensed. "Is that good or bad?" "Bad," she breathed. "Something is hunting the instability." Something followed me. The cabin walls shook. The air tore open, ripping like cloth, and a massive shadow stepped through. It was not human, not from Earth, not from Eloria. A predator from the rift currents. A rift stalker.
Tall.
Limbless. Floating. Eyes glowing like 3 molten suns. Zyra screamed, pulling her babies close. Mason grabbed a metal bar and stepped between her and the creature. "Stay behind me." Zyra felt her heart break. "No. Mason, you'll die." "I won't let it touch your kids," he roared. The rift stalker lunged. Mason swung. Its tendrils wrapped around his arm, burning him. He screamed. Zyra's instinct surged. Her wings flared open, glowing with raw energy. "Get away from him." She unleashed a harmonic blast that shook the entire cabin. The rift stalker recoiled, screeching. Mason fell to his knees. Zyra stood over him, wings bright enough to light the room. She fired again, a sonic boom of pure power. The rift stalker shattered into dust. Silence. Breathing hard, Zyra collapsed to her knees beside Mason. "You fool," she whispered tearfully. "Why would you risk your life?" He winced, gripping her hand weakly. "Because you and your kids matter." Her breath trembled. "Mason," she touched his cheek softly. "You saved me again." 9. The portal home. Minutes later, a new rift opened. Stable this time. Controlled. Elorian searchers stepped through. "Zyra, you're alive." She stood holding her babies. "I'm ready to go home." But she turned back to Mason. He looked exhausted. Burned. Injured. But alive. She stepped close to him. "You are the reason my daughters live. You are the reason I survived." He swallowed. "Glad I was here." She reached into her cloak and placed a glowing shard in his hand. A transdimensional beacon. "If you ever need me," she whispered, "break this."
He stared at it.
"Will I ever see you again?" Zyra looked at her twins, then at him. "I hope so." She hugged him. A full, soft, warm embrace. Then she stepped into the portal, her twins cradled close.
And vanished.
Epilogue, a promise across worlds. Weeks later, Mason sat alone in his cabin. The nights were quiet. The world seemed smaller. And the beacon sat on his table, glowing faintly. He touched it gently. Somewhere across the stars, Zyra touched the identical shard she kept hidden. "Someday," she whispered. 2 worlds apart. 1 promise shared. A human, an alien mother, 2 twin stars. And a connection destiny wasn't finished with yet.